Welcome to C21 Drive Time. Our team of realtors will be sharing industry news and insights, the occasional interview with interesting people, and some of the most unreal real estate stories you have ever heard. And here's our hosts.
We're back with the C21 Drive Time podcast. Aaron Rollick, Chris Hassel.
Present
and accounted for.
What's back to school stuff? So present, yeah. I mean, we're here.
Yes.
It's like Bueller.
Yeah, it is back to school.
Bueller.
We've really noticed the, first day of school back, some time ago or a few days ago, whenever it was, the amount of traffic in the morning. I was in the office early and ran out to get a coffee, and it was like, holy mackerel, we're back. There's no doubt about it. And, you got to experience it, of course, with construction happening at Lloydminster Comprehensive High School, the lack of parking there right now, which that'll be alleviated. But
so how many students would there be in the comp?
900.
900 staff?
Ooh, 60? Easy?
Yeah. I'm thinking there's about 16 parking stalls around that building right now. So it's hectic. Yeah. We dropped her off. I finagled my way, threw her out. She somehow ran through traffic and didn't get run over. So it was all good. Yeah. And I'm glad that, for future generations, obviously it's going to be a marvelous facility. She just gets in her graduating year the construction, which unfortunate, but someone has to lump it.
So. Always something to remember.
Absolutely.
Out with a bang. So, Chris, today, one of the topics I want to address with you and get your thoughts on and have a discussion about, I think it'll be beneficial to our viewers and listeners, is when we deal with contracts, talking about conditions and terms, and probably the most, for those that have bought and sold real estate, the most familiar condition, of course, is financing. We need to get financing approval. But let's talk about some of the other common conditions that we see and kind of what buyers and sellers, especially sellers, can expect as those come through. So,
well, let me preface that with this. There's 4 parts to any offer. I don't care, how many houses you've bought and sold over the years or what province you buy in or what you're doing. There's 4 parts. Price, obviously, is the big one. Conditions, number 2. Mm-hmm. 3 is possession date. And 4 is what stays and what goes. I don't care what province, state, wherever you buy and whatever you buy, those are the 4 biggies.
Yep.
So going off of that, the conditions are extremely important. I laugh because we watch these TV shows, HGTV and whatnot, where they're touring buyers through and they have these realtors that are supposedly doing our job because it looks wildly different on TV than what the real experience is.
Generally, they seem to be a lot better looking than us.
Yeah, put together, handsome, beautiful, whatever. Yeah, they're all 10s, and we're 4s and 5s some days on a good day. So
together, though, we're a 10.
Yeah, that's right. We can get to 10 if we have 5 2s. Yeah, it's all good. So they tour them through, and they just say, "Yeah, we'll take it." They want to buy. Yeah, just wrap it up. Just take it. We want it. Just buy it. Just buy it. So that's the Hollywood version of what we do. In the real world, if the people say, okay, let's make an offer, let's start the negotiation. Well, price is a part of that. And then when we get into the nuts and bolts of it is like the conditions upon, as you said, financing, number 1. Okay, with what we've got going on right now in the world and whatnot, rates are a little bit higher than what they have been in the historic lows we saw before. But so now, got to get to the bank, got to make sure you're good to go. And that's number 1. Number 2 might be home inspection, might be subject to parental walkthrough too as well. Might be subject to a review of the RPR/survey certificate, which shows that's basically a sketch of where the house is situated on the lot. Yeah. So that's important because you want to know the setbacks are correct and all that good stuff. So, and then that segues into the next piece is what we call a term. Now, a term is what is to be done. So let's say we just asked a seller to make sure that, let's say, the sprinklers were winterized. We're coming into the time of year where sprinkler winterization is happening.
Yep.
A term would be saying, seller to winterize sprinklers, on or before possession date.
Right.
That's a term. Nothing has to happen that would be conditional upon that happening for the deal to go ahead. It would just be, this is going to happen. Boom. That's a term. A condition is, okay, we're going to go for financing. So we need to start it now, and we're going to give it a set date, let's say 10 days period. So if it happens within that 10 days, you can remove that condition, the deal can go forward. If you don't, the deal can collapse, and the parties can go about their merry way. So very, very important, because we get a lot of buyers that want to run ahead and say, yeah, just make this happen. They're excited. They maybe have plans. They may be under the gun timelines. Yeah. But there is steps we have to go through to make sure that it's going to happen. That it's the right place for you. We're not, you're not falling into a pit or a landmine or a money pit or something like that. So,
and that's one of the things I deal with. I've come across many buyers, being primarily a buyer's agent, is some that just get overexcited and trying to explain to them. Sometimes these conditions are here to protect you and your interest. If you just go in, straight cash offer, I'll take it, HGTV style. That's really putting them at risk. So then it's incumbent on myself and you and our colleagues to really delve in with that person, that they're doing the right thing and ask the right questions and make sure that they're fully understanding the decision they're making.
You don't want to say the gravity of it, but that's really it is. They're saying, you're making decisions that have long-lasting ramifications, so make sure that you've got in there stuff to protect yourself, yes, and you're not overstating. Because you have a pre-approval in place, most people say, oh, yeah, I'm pre-approved. Well, that means to them, that means I've spoke to the bank.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pre-approved. Yeah, I made a call and said, I'm looking for this kind of range, and the banker said, yeah, or mortgage agent, here's the things that we need to see. That may not be supplied yet. Oh, yeah, we're good to go. I talked to the bank. Okay, well, we don't have the bank calling us saying they're good to go for this amount. That would be in a perfect world in real estate land if they all walked in with that in their hand and snapped it on the table and said, here's what I can spend. Hallelujah. Because then we know and we can represent that in the offer saying they're pre-approved. If we do a deal here, it's solid.
Yeah.
And there's also the second half of that is you can have seller conditions as well. So the buyer can have conditions saying I need to have mortgage, home inspection, let's say the review of the utility bills per se. Now a seller might say, I need to put a condition there to make sure I have a place to go. So it can be a two-way conditional. It can be a buyer, it can be seller. It definitely can be a two-way street. Usually a one-way where the buyer has theirs, but definitely the seller can have conditions as well.
Yeah, and it's it's important that buyers and sellers understand the ramifications of the conditions, what's required of them, and of course that's where we come into play to sit our client down and say, hey, here's what it means, here's how it works. Like you said, dates on conditions are extremely important. Are they attainable? Are they realistic dates? Do they make sense? Can we complete them in time? And as well as what the terms are and how those will be satisfied as the contract moves forward. So it's again a lot of explaining on our part, and that's why we consider ourselves the trusted advisor to help to walk our clients through those things.
Yeah, for sure. And then you'll get to the end where the conditions are satisfied, I'm going to call it, and then I call it to the buyers. When I used to work with them more before you and I got to work together, I'd call that the point of no return.
Yeah.
Meaning, okay, we'll do conditions, and then when this happens and we remove these conditions, your deposit becomes non-refundable. We send it off to the lawyer for title transfer. Like, this is the point, this is the point of no return.
Yeah.
If you sign off these, you're married to it, you're committed to it. So as long as they know that too as well, because we get people that have private sales and stuff that friends off friends that are buying. If they don't know what they're doing, it can be a real colossal, it's almost like you try to fumble your way through it and hope you get to the end.
Yeah.
So it definitely, with the help of professionals like us, it can say, okay, here's the step-by-step process, here's what we need to do, and handle the emotional side of it too as well. The condition dates are the most emotional packed, because of course it's going to be financial commitment. They're going to do the home inspection, and the home inspector might say, well, hey, there's this and this and this that's maybe could be better or maybe failing or something like that. So because when the HGTV buyer comes in, they think their home is a castle that sits up on the hill with shiny pearly gates, and it's beautiful. It's never been lived in. It's got full warranties.
Yep.
And they may have bought a starter home that was built in 1945, and you know what? It's at a certain price point. That's why prices, the newer, the bigger, the better, the higher the price gets. Yep. And the lower it gets, probably the older it gets, the smaller it gets, and maybe a couple of we're going to call a couple warts that need to be kind of shined up and taken care of. But in their mind, it's the bright, shiny castle on the hill. But as you and I know, practicality-wise, every house has its shortcomings or fault. Not very often we ever do a home inspection where it's clean.
No, very rare.
It does happen, but it's the unicorn. So
yeah, but that's I always relate it to people is you need to temper expectations. A house 15 years old, it might look super shiny and really great, and it likely is a very, very good house. But I always say to them, it's like related to buying a new car. A new car versus a used car is a very different animal.
Yep.
And it's the caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware. Do your due diligence, look into it, and that, to wrap things up with this conversation is take it back full circle, talking about terms and conditions. Have that conversation with your agent. Make sure that you understand as a buyer and seller what those mean.
Yep.
That's one of the things I always say to all my buyers is there are no silly questions ever.
No.
If you are unsure of anything,
Yep.
we pause, we clarify,
Yep.
then we go forward when you're comfortable.
Yeah, we advise them to say, this is not a place to put your ego at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
This is a place to park that and say, I'm not sure about this. I don't do this every day.
Yep.
When I go to my dentist, I don't tell him what to do inside my mouth. I don't go, I think you better check that cavity in the back again, or that molar. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So if I go there, I go, okay, sir or ma'am, you're my dentist. Do what you do. I maybe have an ache. I don't know. Look into that. I'm not sure. Same thing with a house. People tend to say, oh, I know about this, or my Uncle Charlie told me that, or Aunt Susie had a bad experience. Cool. Then let's hear that out. Let's find out where the objection is and roll through it. And if it's, if it has merit, we'll deal with it. If it doesn't, then we'll say, okay, I'm sorry your Aunt Mary had a bad experience, but this is, this is how we can rectify that and go. But people tend to get to a bit more know-it-all status when it comes to this, and they don't have to.
No.
It can be fun. The big thing is that, if you're with a buyer or seller, let's have fun.
Yep.
Take the
Enjoy
pressure off
yourself
her.
and go. So
Cool. Awesome.
Matt is with us today from StartUp Lloydminster and eCarn, and we're going to get into that for a second. But Matt, just give a quick hello to all our listeners.
How's it going, guys?
There you have it. That gives
I
it
feel
away.
like saying, g'day, mate. Like, that's not local. I'll tell you that. So
Well,
let's start there, right off
Yeah,
the
many
hop.
of you may think that Matt is from southern Saskatchewan, but he's not. Comes to us from Australia. Matt, I'm going to give the quick bio, and then you kind of fill it in. Matt, from Australia, he'll get into exactly where it's from because I cannot remember, but came here as a Lakeland College men's volleyball recruit. As many of our listeners know, I'm an assistant coach on that team. We're thrilled to have him. Has decided to stay, make Canada and Lloydminster his home, and start up Lloydminster. But give us the story on how Matt Peck ended up in Lloydminster from as you saw it.
Yeah, so I grew up playing pretty high-level volleyball in Australia. I was on the junior national team for quite a few years back home. And the pathway after that is to either go to Europe or go to Canada and play post-secondary volleyball. There's no post-secondary sport in Australia. And so if I wanted to play at that next level, it was either go to Europe on a pro contract or come to North America and try and get a scholarship to come play college volleyball. And so I sent out 50 emails to coaches all across Canada. I didn't really care where I went. I just wanted a spot. I'm only 6 feet tall. I'm not exactly a tall person, and so I was worried that I was going to be beat out by some 6'8" Europeans. And got a few responses, and then was lucky enough to get offered a spot here at Lakeland College, and didn't even know which campus I was going to be at until I got here. So got picked up at Edmonton, and I remember driving past the sign to Lakeland College on the way through Vermilion. And was a bit concerned because I didn't know if they were taking me somewhere I wasn't supposed to be.
Thinking you've been catfished.
A little bit, yep. And so that's how blind I was coming into Lloydminster, and that was in 2016. Ended up playing 5 years for the Rustlers. Was absolutely the time of my life. Fell in love with the college, the community. And so now I've decided to stay around. The coaching side of things is really appealing to me as well. So I do a lot of junior coaching here in Lloyd. And really, really love it here. And so I grew up half an hour outside of Melbourne, which is just a huge city back in Australia. And now here I am in little Lloydminster, absolutely loving my time here. So
I'll pump your tires a little bit. Would we 1-2-time ACAC All-Star?
once, yeah.
Once. Right, not as many as the assistant coach. True. But I think most impressive for me as a parent in the community is Matt has been the driving force behind the Lakeland Rustlers beach volleyball program, which was essentially non-existent before his arrival and his passion for the game. And Matt, I think, was 86 kids this year?
Yeah,
roughly?
we had 86 this year. We started with 10 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So growing every year.
So to bring it on during COVID, I know you did a lot of work, putting into to help the city to upgrade the facility at Bud Miller Park and bring nets in and things like that. And that's always, for me, a guy that's been around here a long time, and Chris has been here 30 years, is, you you had no need to do that. So I'll say it on behalf of Lloydminster. Thanks for being involved in the community and sticking your neck out there and being awesome to all the kids out there. Super appreciated.
Thanks for pumping my tires, man.
You're welcome, buddy. Yeah.
And I love the story is to say, okay, I put a whole bunch of applications out, and these guys obviously said, hey, come on over this way. And you're like, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know. Obviously, you knew what you were doing, but that's a pretty big, I'm going to call leap of faith. So good on you, because I mean, sometimes we have clients that have trouble crossing the street to their new home, and I mean, you're jumping countries and continents and saying, let's go give this a go. So pat you on the back for that. That's a big move.
Yeah, my poor mother was very supportive, but has been sad since the day I left. My brother moved out of home, and then I moved across the world, and within a couple months of each other. So my poor mum was an empty nester very quick.
Oh, yeah. And did she come to visit? Did she come?
She came, they came in 2018, and then I went back home in August of 2019, and I'm heading back for Christmas this year, which will be my first time seeing mum and dad in 3.5 years by then. So very, very exciting times.
It's I got to meet Matt's mom. Well, in 2018 I met her, but last year Matt coaches with the women's team at Lakeland, and of course we're the assistant coaches of the year. And I happened to be walking by, and there's a phone right there ringing, and it was Matt's mom FaceTiming him. So I answered and said hi to his mom, and promised her that he would call her back. So
very
she
impressive.
was probably shocked. Yeah.
No, she actually knew it was me right away. I think she kind of looked for a second, like, who's this crazy bald guy on the screen? But she could see the volleyball behind me, and he was back, kind of running things and hollering at the girls. So I hope you did call her back. So.
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
So Matt, one of the reasons we asked you in here today, of course, we mentioned earlier that you're part of StartUp Lloydminster and eCaren. So if you can kind of give us a quick summary, and then we're going to drill you with some questions about what's StartUp and then what's the eCaren project that you're involved with.
Yeah, for sure. I started with StartUp Lloydminster back in May of this year, and I wasn't really sure what it was all about before I applied and before I got that position. And so it's been a really cool experience for me the last few months, learning everything that StartUp Lloydminster does and working with the eCaren as well. And so StartUp Lloydminster is it's designed to help small business and entrepreneurs in any way that they need. And so the way we like to describe it is whether you have a napkin idea or a fully fledged small business, we are there to provide supports with whatever you need. And so whether that be business coaching, business mentoring, we do business model canvases. A big one with a lot of clients is helping out with their business plans to ensure that it would be ready for grant applications and things like that. And so we like to sit people down and make sure that they have a fully formed idea of what they're trying to do and support them along every step of the way. And so that's the StartUp Lloydminster side of things. With the eCaren, I'm also the East Central Alberta Regional Innovation Network Coordinator. And so the East Central area is pretty much Lloydminster and then 150 kilometers north, south, and west.
Okay.
And that's the region that I'm the coordinator for, and that specifically focuses on tech and innovation business. And so the goal there is we want tech startups, we want people to be problem solvers, and so we're looking for people particularly if you've been in an industry for a long time, typically those are the people who can best solve those problems. And so we're really hoping that that innovation is thriving in our area, and it really is. And that's another position that we're supporting of putting those people in contact with supports and helping them every step of the way as well.
Cool. And you mentioned that because what I heard you say was from napkin, saying,
yeah,
I got an idea. I just put this down on a piece of paper, or I was sitting at a table at lunch and I put it down on a napkin. How do I get to the next step? So as entrepreneurs, lots of people, they have good ideas and they've got that initial spirit to get going, but don't know what a business plan is. And if you were to you need granting or banking especially, the first thing the bank is going to say, I need a business plan.
Yeah,
and they'll look at you and go,
well, and I was that banker in my past life where
we forgot about that, but we'll forgive you.
Yeah, so. It just flashed back to me. But I've had that person come in and say, I want to do this, and it is a napkin. And as a banker, I like the idea, but we need to smooth this out. And I'm guessing that's exactly what StartUp does, is takes you from idea to reality.
Yeah, for sure. And we have some business coaches at StartUp that have been doing this for 10 to 15 years. And so they've seen all of the napkins come through the door. And so they have a really good understanding of, how can we make this idea work? Because they've seen it all at this point, and so they've worked with so many clients that they know what the next steps are, how to really flesh out that business plan, and then we can send them to the bank.
And I think one of the things I really like about Startup, and I've been able to spend some time down there, at some of your mixers and things like that, is it's not just for that wild-eyed idea entrepreneur. It's for people that have an existing small business. I know when Chris and I became partners here at Drive, I spent some time down there and had some conversations with Wendy Plandowski, and then sitting at a few of the mixers, just chatting with other small business owners, because I'd still consider us a small business. We're just to see what struggles they have and be part of it. So what kind of supports do you have for kind of that existing small business in town?
Yeah, for sure. We love to be in contact with all of the small business in our area. It's not necessarily just the entrepreneur that's starting right up. It's supporting any form of small business. And so we have, like those mixes you said, we call it coffees, cocktails, and conversations. Yeah. That is a Wendy Plandowski name right there. She's done well. And so we run that on the third Tuesday of every month from 4 to 6 p.m. And that's been a fantastic event. We've just got that off the ground this year, and that's allowed people to come in a really casual setting and just discuss the things that are going well, the problems that you're facing with your small business in a really relaxed environment. I'm allowed to give a little spoilers here. We're bringing Rolling Greens back again for this next one coming up. They were fantastic last time with charcuteries, and they did very well last time, and so they're coming back for this next one coming up in September.
Spectacular. The last one I was able to attend was I'll give a shout out to the Prairie Lily coffee roasters.
Yeah,
fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Local guy got off the ground and just brewing it up.
Yeah, he's doing very well. Yeah.
Cool. So tell me a typical day. You come into the office. Have you got? Is it walk-ins? Have you got prearranged appointments? I'm sure you get a bit of a mix of both. Tell us what a typical day would be at Startup.
Yeah, it's all over the place, and so a lot of the time that we love people walking in the door. We love when we get walk-ins. It shows that they're eager and sort of passionate about their idea, and so you never know what idea is going to walk through that door. But we for sure have people come in. We'll have pre-booked appointments with clients coming in. So a business model canvas is one that we do with someone who is just starting up, and that's a 3-hour sit down where we go through a full board with them and make sure that they've considered every aspect of their idea. And so we'll typically have someone coming in to do that. We also do business intakes where we'll sort of ask the initial questions to try and work out what supports we can have. One of the big things I've been trying to do these past few months is build connections across Alberta and Saskatchewan. And so get a really good understanding of what programs are available, what government supports are available, and who are the connections at that higher level that I can then refer people onto. So we like to be the middleman between the people and then what help is available and help support them through that, because that's another really intimidating thing for people is, okay, should I apply for grants? What are grants? What's available? And is my idea even good enough to apply for those grants? So that's another thing that we like to do a lot.
And do many people that walk in the door that know that there are actually grants available, or do they just come in saying, I have an idea, I think it'd be a cool business to bring to the community or to the district, we'll call it, and you're like, well, there's other things available than what you might think than just standard banking, financing, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the people who walk in the door don't even have a really thorough understanding of what we can provide too. And so someone's going in thinking they're on their own, and then we can sort of sit down with them and say, hey, we've got the support here. We can really help you here, and then we can refer you on and help you every step along the way with those grants, with those government programs. There's some fantastic government education programs specifically designed for entrepreneurs that's free to them. And so those are the programs that we've learnt about quite a lot that we really encourage people to get involved in, because there's a whole lot of supports available to help these people get their ideas off the ground.
Cool.
So is there things available? For example, I've got my small business rolling, but now I'm growing, I'm expanding, and I'm sure you have a resource available in terms of business coaching. And then I guess part B of my question, because I know you're going to say yes, is how does one go about, if you've been in business a long time, you're an experienced person, you've got a little time to give, and you want to help out? How do you recruit business coaches?
Yeah, so certainly those more established businesses come in, and what we find with them is they have a few more unique problems to their own business. And so that's where those experts in our office with years and years of experience, they've seen a lot of it before, and they're fantastic at helping those higher level problems. On the other side of things, for sure, having more business coaches, having more mentors within our community, I think is fantastic. And so when we have someone come in who has a problem, then we've found that, well, actually, we spoke to a guy a couple of years ago who ran into the same issues. Let's put you in touch. And what we've found is that the people we've helped are then really, really eager to go and then help others as well, which is the exact community that we want to create. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really prominent here in Lloydminster, which is why I love it.
Yeah, I think we can speak to that just internally here with Drive. Is the owners before us are readily available. We've had questions going, what do we do? What do we do? And to have that advice, as well as a network of realtors from across the country, really has been invaluable for us. It's probably prevented Chris from having 10 or 11 heart attacks.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all
that's good then. Yeah,
yeah. There's no doubt. This community has always been one to step up to the plate when asked. And that's,
for sure.
I think a lot of people kind of don't see that. They see our community roll along, and there's big events, there's big projects, there's a lot of community support, but they don't realize that that's from community-minded people stepping up and say, we'll donate up some time or some finances or whatever it is to make these projects go. And for those young entrepreneurs, I shouldn't say that. For those entrepreneurs, can be any age, that daunting first step is to say, I need help. And, I have an idea, but I'm not sure where to go. That can be a daunting task.
Yeah, for sure. Some of those are local superheroes, and some who prefer to remain anonymous have done some incredible things for startups in this town. And so it's awesome. Yeah, really cool.
Cool.
So the e-Karen side of things, I kind of want to dig into that a little bit more in terms of the technology and innovation, because I don't think we realize sometimes how leading edge we really are in this area. And of course, we always say, well, we're oil heavy, we're ag heavy, but technology has really ridden shotgun, especially in the last number of years with those two industries. I mean, look at us. We're sitting here with this fancy board, and Chris and I shake our heads all the time. When I started here, I didn't know how to turn my MacBook on, and that is the true story. I'm finally admitting it. So in terms of the e-Karen and what they do, I mean, really, what are some of maybe give us a couple of examples of specific topics that have been involved with that?
Yeah, so what the Alberta government's done is they've broken up Alberta into 8 different regions, and they've called them these regional innovation networks. And so the East Central Alberta region is the one that we deal with. And so StartUp Lloydminster is the hub, I guess, for the East Central Alberta Regional Innovation Network. And the 8 regions come together on a lot of Alberta-wide projects, which is some really, really exciting things. There's a video project coming in soon that's celebrating entrepreneurs all across Alberta, which is a really exciting one. And what we're finding is, tech is moving at such a fast rate that there is some incredible opportunities. And like I'd mentioned before, it's the people who have been in industry for a long time, who've noticed some problems, they're the best people to solve those problems. I was speaking to a guy from Sask Innovation the other day, and he works at a little tech hub in Saskatoon, and he said their most successful person they've had come in the last 4 years was someone who'd worked as a hairstylist for 20 plus years, and she'd noticed a problem with the way they were disposing of the hair and the way they were cleaning up, came up with a product that was going to fix it, and it rolled out all across Canada, and she has been their most successful client they've had for years. And he goes, I'm a tech guy, innovation guy, I would never have been able to come up with that myself because I just hadn't had the experience. And so people who've been in business in a long time, I think Albertans are problem solvers. And so what's the problem in your industry? And people need to trust that they can solve them. And that's where we are there to help them if they're noticing problems they think they can solve.
You don't have that problem, follically challenged as you are, so you don't see the hairdresser or have any to fall off. So Matt and I can talk about that. We'll just leave you aside for a moment.
Hey, I've told you this story before. I have that client that Oh, well, you know my girlfriend. Oh, I don't think so. What's she do? Well, she runs a barbershop.
Really?
I look at him and I'm like, do you think I know her? Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah. No, I don't know her.
My girlfriend's still cutting my hair from the COVID time, so
It shows.
Yeah, fair enough. Don't
But
tell
isn't
her that.
But a wonderful example on, that's what startup's all about. There's a need, there's a problem, something, the person says, this is what the community needs because we have this issue that needs to be solved or addressed or supported, or a service that's brought in. They come to you and say, I see a need here and I need to get my business up and going so we can satisfy and help it. I mean, here at Drive, we have people with wants and needs or problems. I need housing. I need accommodation. We need to move. We're in the same bit, it's just that we're a specific need. You guys are saying, bring all comers. Tell us what your problem solution or your problem solver is, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if there's any advice I could give is trust that your solution is a viable one. And if it's not already, then we can work through it. I think a lot of people go, well, I think I could solve this problem, or I think this is a good idea, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Bring it in anyway and really back yourselves in, because you're not alone in this. And so any idea that people have, we can help flesh it out. We can help turn it into something that's going to grow and turn into something awesome. So
do you find that in the 3-hour intake that you'd mentioned before, is that really where you sit down with the idea and then you go through the process to say, do we have merit? Does this person believe in what they're going to do? Yeah. Does this have legs, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. In that 3-hour business model canvas, I've sat in on a few now with those coaches who've had years and years of experience, and they're fantastic. The goal there is, let's sit down and consider every aspect of this before somebody else asks you about it. And so the idea is you walk out of that office, and then when you're discussing your project, you're discussing your small business with people, or you're going on to the bank, or you're going on to a grant application, you've already been asked those questions before those people ask you.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal there, is really round out your idea. And so we've already considered everything. So you don't get to the bank and they go, oh, have you thought about this? And you go, oh, no, I haven't.
True.
Yeah, so I've been on the other side of it, where I've had the opportunity to work with some startup clients and that are looking at some commercial properties and different, whether it be retail space, office space, those types of things. And prior to that, I had spent a lot of time with some of the people in your office, and I guess at the time didn't realize that I was being quizzed and questioned, and then I have these mutual clients that have worked with startup and have asked us to show them these properties, and as I'm asking my questions, they are fully ready to answer them. and I click 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, oh, Wendy got me.
Yeah.
She probed me the realtor questions. Okay, and I'm sure now in your 3-hour, the realtor's going to ask you this, the banker's going to ask you this. Let's have conversations about how to deal with that. And I thought it's great, where we get some people that contact us as realtors that haven't had a conversation with places like Startup or the business plan. And when we start asking probing questions, you can almost see the panic in their eyes. Mm-hmm. And then, we have to kind of recenter them and like, hey, it's okay. We'll talk through it. And so it's been a great partnership for us, I know, at Drive to have that connection, to have discussions with Startup about, helping these small business people to get rolling, because we feel we can be part of the process, and we appreciate being asked to be part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And have that place to send them.
Yeah,
because otherwise you can't really send them straight to the bank. They're not ready for that, and they're thinking about, well, maybe I need space. So I'm sure as part of that process you go through, it addresses a lot of those things.
Yeah,
so geographically, then, Karen, you said about Alberta, like for Startup, you go both sides, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a big thing that we've a border city challenge that we all seem to face. And so that was something that we had some big discussions about a couple months ago of, if they're on the Sask side living in Lloyd, is the Alberta programs available, or things like that. And so a big push that we've had in the past couple months is reaching out to those Sask innovation hubs and the Sask startup centers and explain sort of our problems a little bit. And we have fantastic connections throughout Saskatchewan as well. And so I think a big important piece is, yes, I'm the coordinator for the eCaren, which is the Alberta side, but everything to do with StartUp Lloydminster is all Lloydminster residents. And so we have some fantastic connections through Saskatchewan. Everyone is treated the same, for sure.
Perfect.
And then, sometimes I'll make some trips further into Alberta and work with those eCaren clients. But yeah, we've really come a long way with the help we can provide through Saskatchewan, which is some really impressive programming as well.
Cool.
So Matt, I guess we'll look to wrap this up here, but if you can just touch on how do people get a hold of you? Where do they find you? Facebook pages, all that kind of stuff, whatever startup may have. I'll let you start rattling it off.
Yeah, there we go. We've got the StartUp Lloydminster. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which are really good places. Our Instagram is fantastic. We really keep up to date there.
Yep.
We are located right next to Community Futures. It's behind Superstore. So the best directions is probably behind Panago Pizza, depending if we've got some pizza fans. We have a fantastic little collision space in there, and so I'd really encourage people to come and check out that space because we do rent that space open for the public. There's a bunch of different little working areas within that space. We provide really good free Wi-Fi, free printing services, coffee, tea, and all that. And we love when people come in to sit down for a couple hours and just work away on their idea and their project. And we find that there's times when there's people in the office there and it facilitates some really, really good discussion. And so even if somebody's just working on their idea, working away, I'll be there 10 meters away, or Wendy will be in the next room. And so as you're working through maybe your business plan or something like that, we can be right there. We can be a question away. And so we love when people come in and work within our space. Couple events that we've got going on is those coffees, cocktails, and conversations every third Tuesday of each month. Has been a fantastic event that we have going on. And another one we've been working with Aaron Buckingham. We're going to deliver the Killing Herb program later this month here in Lloydminster, which is a fantastic program. He absolutely raves about it. And so that'll be really exciting to be able to bring that to Lloyd. That's a consulting program looking at those high-level salespeople. That's a 2-day at the end of September. So that's another exciting one we have going on.
Cool.
Awesome. So lots of exciting things happening with StartUp Lloydminster, with the eCairn project. Again, Matt Peck, thank you so much for joining us on the C21 Drive Time podcast. Again, everyone, like, subscribe. You'll find us on all the podcast platforms, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.